many bodies have to pile up of people who have tried to betray John Wick before everyone decides to keep their word with the guy? Let's see how betraying the Baba Yaga has gone so far in the John Wick universe. I'm Joey C. Let's go! We learn little tidbits about the John Wick of old, mostly through people trying to appeal through their shared history so John Wick won't kill them with an improvised weapon. The big reveal is that the person we know as John Wick was once known as Jardani Jovanovic of Belarus. That'd be the country with the last dictator in Europe, and that's just what the gal in charge calls him. At some point, Jardani Jovanovic ditched both Belarus and the name Jardani Jovanovic. Given what we've seen about this guy's life, it's probably because he helped somebody, they betrayed him, he had to kill a bunch of people and flee. It's a very common thing. So goodbye Jardani and Belarus, and say hello to John Wick and the United States Marines. And I gotta say, John Wick is a lot easier to fill out on a Scantron, and I know you remember those. We don't know if he met Marcus in the Marines, or was recruited for the murder-for-hire life by Marcus after he got out of the service. But we do know that Marcus served as an ally and a friend to John Wick.
Just checking up on an old friend.
Wick took to wet work like a whale to water, apparently developing quite a talent for it and a reputation. At some point, he demonstrates his virtuosity by killing 3 men in a bar with a pencil. Good lord.
Who can do that?
All while gangster Vigo watches on. From that point on, he was in Vigo's employ. That is until John Wick met Helen, and his heart grew 3 sizes that day. Oh wait, wrong story, but same message here. Wick embraced love and told Vigo he was walking away from that life. Although you don't really walk away from that life. Then again, I wouldn't tell my unstoppable murder machine employee no in a room that almost certainly has pencils inside it. So instead, he sent him on one more job, the big dirty if you will. An impossible job that most certainly would be the end of John Wick, and would do some good for Vigo's criminal empire. But good lord, are you shocked? John Wick completed the job, man. And as Vigo tells his son, Losef, the bodies he buried that day laid the foundation for what their organization is today, or was. We'll get to that. In the course of that impossible task, he agrees to a blood oath from Santino D'Antonio. When your unstoppable killing machine takes your gang to #1 with several bullets, you just go ahead and let the guy retire for God's sakes. He did manage to get a few years of happily ever after with Helen before disease took hold and Helen died with no one to avenge. If everyone had left well enough alone, we wouldn't have the movies, but they didn't. So we did, and that brings us to the beginning of a lot of people's ends. See what I did there? Good lord, I'm so clever.
Of course.
Before Helen passed on from this mortal coil, she arranged to have a puppy delivered to Wick so that he could remember what love is. And it would have worked too if it wasn't for you meddling kids. In this instance, meddling kids is Vigo's son, Losef, who is too young to remember John. So Losef doesn't know that he's talking to his father's former hitman. Thinking Wick's Mach 1 is a Boss 429, little something for the Mustang nerds, he tries to buy it and Wick says no. Being young and privileged, he doesn't know what no means, so he shows up to John Wick's house and ambushes him and steals the car, dude. To make sure that John Wick's wrath is turned up all the way to 11, they killed the puppy too, man! How could they? You don't steal a man's ride, and you never, ever, ever, ever kill a man's puppy. Losef takes the Stang to a garage to get some new VIN numbers, which puts the chop shop owner in difficult position since he knows the car. And boy, the chop shop owner gives Losef his best Will Smith and sends him back to his dad, and he has to tell his dad why. Because he stole the car and killed the dog of the most dangerous man he knows. How stupid can you be, kid? He's so flustered, he refers to Wick as Baba Yaga.
We call him Baba Yaga.
An old Russian folktale about a powerful witch who rides around in a shack on a pair of chicken legs. Did he mean Babe, which is Russian for boogeyman? Well, the Baba Yaga has also been known to be both helpful and vengeful, so maybe it still works. Either way, like the Wu-Tang Clan, John Wick ain't nothing to mess with. Despite putting a $2 million bounty on Wick's head and recruiting Marcus, Marcus couldn't stick with the whole betraying Wick and instead gave him a heads up, which resulted in Vigo killing Marcus. You've already made him mad. What's a little more mad? After a very aggressive game of bumper cars, Wick finally gets his car back. Though at this point, why they didn't just leave it out front with the keys in it is beyond me. I have no idea, dude. The problem is, all this destroying the criminal empire he built up got people thinking that John Wick was back. At the very least, asking him enough times if he's back, he finally just says he's back so they'll stop asking.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm back.
So Santino D'Antonio thought this was a great time to call in his blood oath. This is where John Wick skips from being a stylish revenge story to a story of a complicated society of assassins. At the center is the Continental, a bougie hotel for only the most discerning assassins. Ruling over this whole complicated affairs of gold coins, rockabilly switchboard operators, and blood oaths is a society called the High Tables. The High Table is why D'Antonio is calling in Wick's blood oath. His parents have died, and his sister Gianna is about to rise to the head of the organization, complete with a seat at the High Table. After some reluctance, and exploding Wick's house because why not anger a very deadly person, Wick accepts the blood oath because the rule on fulfilling blood oaths is on the same level as no business at the Continental. The sister sees it coming and had jumped ahead of Wick on his task, leaving Wick to finish the job just in time to find himself between Gianna's bodyguard and the people D'Antonio tasked to betray Wick as a loose end. And I gotta say, crossing Wick has worked out swimmingly so far. What could possibly happen, dude? When Wick kills D'Antonio's guys, D'Antonio puts out a $7 million bounty on him to avenge his sister. That almost works with an injured Wick having to enlist the services of the Bowery King, sort of a Winston for the Bowery, and a group of assassins that pose as the homeless. The Bowery King digs the idea that Wick will be killing a member of the High Table and slit him 7 bullets, one for each of the $1 million in his bounty. With Wick freeing up a lot of D'Antonio's security payroll, D'Antonio decides to tag home base, which is to say move into the Continental with plans to stay there forever since it's the only place safe from John Wick. And boy, I gotta tell you, it's not. He gets shot right in front of Winston in the lounge. Out of fondness for Wick, Winston gives Wick a 1-hour head start before he considers him excommunicado.
Excommunicado.
Out of the club, persona non grata. On the outs, no longer available at this number. He uses that hour to cash in some last few markers to go and get the person who sits above the High Table, the Elder. To do this, he has to call in Sophia's blood oath, who now runs the Moroccan Continental. With Sophia's help, Wick gets to the Elder and asks for forgiveness so that the memory of his love for Helen will live on. The Elder agrees, if Wick will kill Winston. Wick agrees and gives the Elder his wedding ring after cutting his ring finger off as a sign of loyalty. That he doesn't have. While Wick was going over everyone's head, an adjudicator had been auditing the Continental and the Bowery King for their roles in allowing John Wick to, John Wick all over the place. When the Bowery King doesn't step down, he gets 7 cuts for 7 bullets. 7 cuts for 7 bullets for $7 million sounds like an off-brand Broadway show based on the Bowery King. Anyways, the adjudicator also wants Winston to step down, and Winston is against it. Turns out Wick was against the idea of killing Winston, as well as making his way to the hotel. So the Continental's decommissioned, and Master Assassin Zero and his students force Wick and Winston to make 3 dishes out of a mystery ingredients in an hour to compete against. No, wait, that's Mark Dacascos' other gig as hosting the American version of Iron Chef. I was mistaken. Anyways, Wick teams up with Winston and Sharon, the chillest concierge in the world, and fend off Zero and his men, only for Winston to parlay with the adjudicator for his hotel back. When she agrees, Winston shoots Wick off the building. This will work out great for him, I'm sure, because when they look down on the street, they see John Wick pulled his best Mike Myers and vanished. That's because he's been rushed off to the Bowery King, where the two agree they've had their fill of the High Table. So that's it, right? That brings us to the up-and-coming Slaughterfest Chapter 4 is sure to be. Nothing else to cover. Well, that depends on how related John Wick is to creators Derek Olsted's other movie, Nobody, starring Bob Odenkirk. Like John Wick, Nobody's Hutch Mansell is trying to live that domestic life. Unlike Wick, he he not only got that, but he got all the soul-crushing tedium of a job at his father-in-law's business and a wife and kids. So when they suffer a break-in, Hutch holds back in front of his oldest boy, hoping to teach him a lesson on mercy over the murder rage. We soon find out Hutch has on tap. When Hutch finds out that the thieves got his daughter's locket, he borrows his father's FBI badge to find the thieves. But they're just as desperate and scared as he thought they were, so he once again stows his murderous rage. And on the bus ride home, however, some young boys get a little touchy, and Hutch unleashes his murderous rage. And he now has an outlet for all the things he's been holding back. Unfortunately, wouldn't you know, one of those young boys was the son of a Russian syndicate leader. Aye, that's a bad coincidence. The sons of Russian syndicate leaders are the root cause of a lot of problems in the Wickverse. Obviously, this means retaliation, since it turns out that Hutch used to be the guy who came in and cleaned up off-book operations for those three-letter agencies. This also means a lot of dead henchmen, especially when it turns out that this was a family business. With the baddies defeated and Hutch's son a little clearer on how tough his father is, Hutch gets to live his life. Olstad has said that both movies take place in the same universe. When asked if there will be a John Hutch team-up, Olstad rejected the idea, saying if there was a crossover, it would be something as simple as the pair passing each other at an airport. But Andrew Garfield swore up and down that he wasn't in Spider-Man No Way Home. So who knows, man? Why do so many people think it's a great idea to double-cross John Wick? Ladies and gentlemen and everybody else in between, you made it to the end of the video. What did you think of the timeline of John Wick? Let us know. Thanks for watching.